and sort of how it would work for us. So I think it was on the back of an incident that had happened, and somebody had been verbally abused and threatened. I think they threatened that it was a bomb and they were going to bring a bomb into the building. So we just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of what to do, because from Exco's point of view, you shouldn't have to put up with any of that. You're not paid to take grief off people on the phone. I appreciate that in our business, we're always going to get some kind of grief with our cohort, that, somebody's going to sort of be a bit stroppy with us. But this is where this comes in. It's where you are able to go, actually, this is no longer just me having to deal with somebody who's a bit aggressive or got a few issues. This is now something that's making me feel uncomfortable. Because for me, that's the key here. It's when you start to feel, actually, I don't feel right about this now. Who do I go to for help? So the guys kindly put together a presentation, a protocol, and I just wanted to go through sort of the presentation with you on, what to do if anything happens. So just to go through, first of all, the purpose. It was respond safely and consistently when calls involve threats, imitation or risk. I should have put my glasses on. It would have been so much easier. So that's why it's here. It's not to try and add anything extra onto your role or, to scare you or anything. It's just to give you some tools so that you can sort of decide, do I escalate? Can I put the phone down on this person? Without feeling that you're going to be in trouble or anything. The key message is safety comes first, your safety. And that they may be on the end of the phone and the threats may be the fact that they're going to come to the building, and they may never. But just having that phone call might make you feel unsafe or uncomfortable. And staff should not have to manage serious threats alone. That's why you've got a line manager. That's why your line manager's got a line manager. So you should have somebody you can go to for support. And the outcome from today is everyone should know the immediate response, the escalation route, emergency triggers, and post-call recording and support requirements. So what does the protocol say? It's quite a few pages. The first sort of 3 or 4 pages is just giving you some ideas, some background. And then at the back of the document, which is the one that's really important for you, and I think that's, it's called the Rapid Response Tool for Threatening Phone Calls. And this is the one, I would say, we'll issue all of this to everybody, or I think we have already, or line managers have. This is the one, no, we'll issue it to you again, no problem. This is the piece of paper, the rapid response, that really you should have by the side of your phone or somewhere that you can get hold of it quickly and go, actually, I've had this phone call, I'm going to deal with it. So basically remain calm and professional, very easy for me to say. Listen without any interruption. Try and capture when you're listening any information. So if you try and continuously say to somebody stop or I'm trying to say something, they're just going to get more agitated. Sit back, listen, record it if you can, make notes, but try and let them get out of their system, because it may be they're just frustrated and just want to tell you how they're feeling. But try and capture as much information. Try and listen without interrupting where safe. So you don't feel comfortable, then you obviously don't continue listening. Try and use neutral, non-judgmental language. So, just try and stay calm. I know it's very easy, but when somebody's screaming and shouting at you, but try and say, look, I do understand. I'm trying to help, and those kind of things. And make factual notes where possible. So don't just sort of try and write down, seemed a bit annoyed. Actually put down, he used bad language, he used these words, he used racism, put down things that were factual if you can't record it. Don't argue or challenge them. Again, it's very easy when somebody's shouting at you, you're thinking, actually, I'm only trying to do my job. You stop. Try not to do that. Try it in your head. Okay, I'm just going to sit back and listen. Try not to sort of aggravate it anymore. Try not to raise your voice or respond emotionally. Again, I know from past experience when I first started working in the police, I actually have burst into tears before now because somebody's been so aggressive on the phone and I've had no support. That doesn't help. They actually see that as a bit of a win and will try and then trigger, to have an even more of a reaction. So if you can, try and stay sort of really calm and neutral.
Don't make promises you cannot keep. The worst thing, maybe not there and then, but the worst thing that's going to happen is we're going to get a complaint. So-and-so on the phone, Emma said she was going to do X, Y, and Z, and she hasn't done that. So now I'm back on the phone and I'm shouting at Lacey instead, because Lacey's Emma's manager and she hasn't promised what she said she could, even though Emma probably knows deep down, I can't actually offer you that. So try not to offer or say we're going to do something if we literally can't. Then I would say, actually, can I come back to you? Can I come back to you and let you know, see what I need to speak to somebody else, but I will come back to you. Again, if you offer to go back to somebody, please go back to them. Again, if they're really aggressive and that's the only way you can get them off the phone, before you go ringing them back, get somebody else involved, because it might be that somebody else needs to ring them, or we need to send them a letter and say, actually, following your phone call, you were so aggressive, I don't feel comfortable in ringing you again, so I'm going to send, I've sent you the information in a letter. Again, one of the first things I said, safety, your safety is what's important. The company, yes, want our residents to be happy and want us to do what we can, but at the end of the day, you're the people that are important in this situation. You're the ones that need to be kept safe and to have the support. Suggested wordings we've put in, script help. We've got some scripts in here. Try and de-escalate, try and issue a warning. Actually, please, you're being really offensive now and I can't help you. And if you continue, I will have to put the phone down. There's absolutely nothing wrong with saying that. Sometimes we're a bit scared. I can't put the phone down on somebody, they're going to put a complaint. If you come and say to Janet when she's doing an investigation, they were being very threatening or they were verbally abusive or they were swearing, and I felt I needed to put the phone down, you will get every support you need for that. There will be no comeback on you should have stayed on the phone. So if you really feel you can't get anywhere and it's getting too aggressive, then say, I'm going to put the phone down calmly and put the phone down. And then they'll ring you back straight away, probably. And that might be just saying to somebody else, can you answer the phone? Or get your manager to come and have a listen to the call or have, some support. Transfer to a manager, that's what they're there for. That they're there to support you, not just there to tell you haven't done your KPIs and you're not having any leave and all of that kind. They're actually there to support you. So if you feel that you need support and you want to say, I put the phone down, I'm not ringing this individual back, can you do it, please? Then you should have that support. And that goes for, if you're a manager, if you're head of services, if you're the director. If I think I'm not going to answer it, then Yvette's going to get the call, or Mark or Gary's going to get the call, or I'm going to ask them for support. I'm not frightened to ask for support if I need it. So don't ever feel I can't ask for support because it might not look as if I can't do my job. That's not the case. And then the suggested wording, I'm going to escalate this call to a manager who can review the matter further with you, and then hand them over to your manager if you can, or they're not around. I'm going to hand this over to my manager. I'm going to ask them to give you a call back and they may be able to help you. So it's not passing the buck. It's not saying, I don't want to deal with you, because I just can't be bothered. It's when somebody this really makes you feel uncomfortable. Now, Janet and the guys have pulled something together. What I would say on the caveat to that, you're all different. Some of you or us may be able to pick up a phone call and listen to it. Yeah. I've got 4 children, so I usually get that most weekends because something's gone wrong. But somebody else new to the organisation who hasn't been in this situation might feel a lot more uncomfortable a lot quicker. So it shouldn't be a case of, well, you haven't tried. Emma took the call and put the phone down straight away, but Janet's had the call and managed to resolve it. That doesn't mean that Emma's in the wrong. It just means that Emma's feeling more uncomfortable. But it could be because somebody's new, hasn't got the experience, just is having a really bad day. And that might be the 4th phone call they've had today where somebody's just been aggressive. Just can't cope with it today. That's what this is for you to go, actually, now I need to escalate. So the threat levels. First one is frustration and swearing, raised voices, in distress, and a threat. And no threat is really present, but just some saying, I've had a really bad day and you're not really, and maybe there's a few odd swear words in there, and that's what we would say is threat level 1. We're probably not going to escalate. We're going to try and diffuse straight away. But, we do recognise that this isn't very nice. Then you've got the persistent abuse, threat level 2, repeated abuse despite the warnings. So whilst you said, look, please, I can't help you while you're screaming and shouting at me or swearing at me, but they persist. That's what we would say is level 2. And level 3 is an implied threat, vague or indirect references to harm. So I'm going to come to the office. I know we're 259 capability green is, and I know I'm going to come and I'm going to wait for you. I'm going to knock on the door. I'm going to ask for you. You know, I'm going to come there and I'm going to bring, I think somebody's had once before, I'm going to come there, I'm going to bring a knife and I'm going to come to THN and I'm going to sort you out. Right, that's now getting a bit more serious. And we would say this does need escalation. I think that needs to be, I'm going to terminate this conversation, get as much information, or you're going to escalate it to your manager. I'll come back to you now, Claire, in a minute. I'll keep your comments here. Threats of violence, threats of assault, attend a location or damage property. So again, I think we had one where they said, we're going to come to THN, we're going to plant a bomb. You know, they didn't. But these days you don't know. So again, it's having that understanding that this is actually really serious and that we might, you know, we may not want to go running around and, you know, quick, get out, there's a bomb, but maybe we do need to escalate this to your manager. You've got the phone call, you say, right, I'm going to just trace this back. I've got a recording of it. Can you have a listen to it? What's your thought? So it's escalating it a bit further. And if somebody comes back saying threats to kill, extreme violence, it may be a case that we want to escalate that to the police, depending on what they're saying. They could be saying to you on the phone, I'm going to kill my neighbour. I think you had quite an odd one once, didn't you, where somebody was threatening to kill themselves or harm themselves. I mean, that might be, you know, you need to then escalate it to Lacey, and Lacey probably spoke to Pete or came down and spoke to us. And we might have said, actually, you know, on this occasion, we know the person, we know where they live in, we may want to get some help to them as well. And the police will go and have a, you know, sort of maybe sort the situation out. So it's having those, recognize those threat levels and knowing what you can do with them. And that's what this protocol is about. So call prompts, try and get the caller's name and contact details. I don't know if it comes up automatically on our phones. I'm in the lucky position. I don't get phone calls very often and nobody wants to talk to me, but it does, it comes up. So brilliant. If you can, you know, have a look, jot it down if you can. Can you go back and check it? Yep, brilliant. The relationship to THN, the property or a resident. So is it a landlord? Because Michael hasn't gone and done repairs, or he's charging for repairs he shouldn't have and he's not very happy. Is it a tenant who's not happy with something we've done or something like that? Try and get the exact wording of the threat. Now, nobody's going to look at the phone call and then come back to you and say, well, actually, you said he told you to off and he actually said off. That's not what we're on. But try and get the level of what the threat is. And as much of that as you can. The specific person, resident, staff member, contractor or location identified. So if they're actually saying to Lacey, I'm really unhappy because Emma didn't come back to me and she's meant to sort me out and now I've got, you know, this happening, I've got a leak in my roof and Emma didn't come back to me. Try and make sure you've captured that it's Emma that's, you know, involved in that, because it could be Emma that they're targeting, not you necessarily. And is there a contractor? I know we have issues sometimes with contractors. They go to properties, you know, and they're the ones that are there with our badges on and they're suddenly seen as THN. So that contractor came here yesterday and I know he's got Supernova on his van. I'm going to sort them out. So just try and get as much information as you can. And any time frame, any reference to weapons or any immediate intention to act. So if you think, actually, this person is actually walking down from Greg's, I'm in Greg's, I'm on my way, you know, that needs to be escalated pretty quickly. If you think he really is in, or she, I said he or she is in Greg's. Important safeguards, avoid the leading questions, try and keep it neutral and don't try and ask them more and more questions. Quite often, the more questions you ask them, the more they'll come back at you with, you know, well, I didn't do this and you didn't do that. So just try and stay calm, neutral, and don't ask leading questions. Avoid anything likely to escalate the call. Record facts, not what you think they meant, not your opinion or any speculation, and share information promptly with the right manager. Safeguarding and safety take priority. So even if you've dealt with the phone call and you think, actually, I dealt with that quite well, I'm okay, I'm feeling fine, but you still think it was a bit aggressive or it wasn't right, you still can escalate to your manager and say, look, I've had the phone call from this resident, you know, and I think we need to maybe send a letter to them or something because it wasn't very pleasant. And I don't think you should have to put up with that kind of language or whatever. So just, even if you've dealt with the phone call, just think about it after if you still feel uncomfortable, maybe escalate it. So escalate early and use emergency criteria. Again, this is in here. So the call handler, Emma, she takes the call. She doesn't feel very comfortable about it. So she's decided some of those triggers have been have been, you know, it's a threat to you, you feel uncomfortable, it's just something you can't cope with, it's, you know, something you're really not dealing with, then you can escalate that to your line manager. Don't escalate it to me though. If you escalate to a vet, escalate it to your line manager and then to your head of service. You can go through to your director if you need to, and eventually we can escalate to police and external agencies. And again, it doesn't have to be when it's happening. If we think the threat is really not very pleasant and they've threatened us or they've said we're going to be coming here tomorrow with a gang of us, you can escalate that to the police. Police aren't going to tell you off if they don't turn up tomorrow. You know, if you've got that gut feeling, and again, if you're not sure, ask. Just go and say to somebody, I've had this phone call. And again, keep going back to the way you're feeling. It could be that today somebody rings me and shouts at me and I think, it's just somebody having a go at me. But tomorrow, my cat could have died and I'd be thinking, actually, this is really, really uncomfortable. So, you know, go with your gut as well. If you think you need to go and speak to your line manager, please do. Don't sit back and hold it in, because I know I go home sometimes and somebody said something and it'll go on and on in my head. And I think, oh, why didn't I say that? Or why did they say this to me? And it, you know, can play in your mind a bit. So if you think, actually, I need some support, go and your line manager should be there for you. Welfare. Exactly what I've been saying, how a threatening call can affect you. You may notice feelings that you're feeling shaky, upset, actually angry. Somebody's spoken to you like that. How dare they speak to you? You're not on the end of the phone to be spoken to in that way. You know, you may be feeling, you know, a bit excited, a bit of adrenaline. Oh, somebody's had a real go at me today. Tension, headaches, feeling drained, difficulty concentrating afterwards. I know I'm terrible. Things go, if somebody says something to me and it upsets me, it goes round and round and round. It'll go eventually, but I think, oh, why did they say that? Or, is it my fault? Or why didn't I say this back? And you think, why the heck am I wasting my time thinking about that? It's gone. But people do, and it can really, you know, impact on you. Worrying about personal safety and them returning the call. So again, if you see that number coming up and they rang you 2 hours before, you think they're going to have another go at me, you know, that's when, again, I would record, I'm going to either pass this on or I'm not going to answer the call at this occasion, but I'm going to get somebody to ring them back and say, sorry, we missed your call, because you don't want to be put back into that situation. It's about making sure that you've evidenced we've done everything we can to try and sort of diffuse the situation, deal with the situation, but actually you don't have to be put in that position if you're feeling really threatened by it. What should happen? You tell your manager as soon as possible. Step away from the calls if needed for a while. So if you just need time out, have a welfare debrief, go to HR and have a chat with them and agree any immediate safety or contact controls that you need to put in place. I do need to put my glass on because I'm really struggling even to read my screen. These reactions are understandable. Staff should not minimise the impact of threatening calls or where they have to manage the situation alone. And I challenge you, if you go to your manager and they say to you, for goodness sake, go away. It was just somebody having, you know, a bit of a rant and that's it. Feel free to come to me and I will raise it, because we're not here for that. We're here to support you and to help you if we need to. So I know you've come down before now, Lillian, you said to us, I've got this phone call. It's, you know, I need to sort it out. That's exactly the right thing to do. You're not bothering us. You're not causing us any concern if we can support in any way. And I know managers are in and out of the office, so they're not always here. We remote work. So don't sit and think, oh, you know, Pete's out of the office, I've got no one to go to. Come to me, Yvette, JV, and have that conversation as well. But just seek that support if you need to. If you go away with nothing, your welfare is the most important thing, and you're not here to be abused by residents in any way at all. We're here to help, we're here to support, and we understand we have aggressive and complex tenants ringing us up, complex people we visit, but actually we're not at the end of the phone for them to just have a go at and to take all their frustrations out on us. And while they're doing that, you need to have that support as well. I've got one more slide. So after the call, record, report, support. So record the incident on a serious incident form or a safeguarding form, or just stick it in an email and send it over to complaints or to safeguarding or to me directly. You know, don't worry if you don't know whether, don't sit and think, I don't know where to report it or on what form. Send it over and we'll get the right form for you. But make sure you record it. Record the threatening statements verbatim if you can, but not but try and make it factual. Try and document the time, the action, and who you notified. Because what will happen is in 2 weeks' time, when we maybe get hold of the resident or they ring back and we say, well, actually, the last time you rang, you were really aggressive. And they go, when? Oh, well, I think it was Thursday or maybe Friday. If we can say, actually, it was on Thursday at 2 o'clock and you contacted so-and-so, they know that we've actually got all of that information and we're not going to put up with it. Store any records securely, use automated alerts, risk flags, and manage information in line with the UK GDPR and THN policy. So, you know, make sure we're not passing information on to somebody that we don't really need to. Welfare debrief. Again, if you just want time out and say, just had a really bad phone call, can I just talk to you about it? That sometimes helps, but do seek that help from your manager. Managerial support. You've got EAP who can signpost us, and we can sort of even take you off your, you know, off the telephone for a while if we really needed to, and somebody else can sit there and take the calls. You know, if you just had a really bad experience, don't then try and deal with them, because what could happen if you decide, actually, I've had a really bad phone call and I'm now going to just carry on. The fact is, you might be the one that's a bit tetchy by the next phone call, or you might be the one that's, you know, having a go at the resident because you think, I've just had enough. It's best for you to take yourself away and go, right, okay, I need time out, and can somebody else just support me? So please always ask for support. I'm going to just go into the chat, if I can find it, because I think Claire has asked a question. Claire, do you want to ask your question out loud?
Oh, it wasn't really a question. I think I was just saying Jodie was the lady that handled the bomb threat stuff, and that went on for days and days and days, and she was absolutely brilliant. So I just wanted to say that I think she was brilliant how she handled the whole thing. It was really stressful for all of us actually. And then, pardon?
I can imagine it would have been really stressful.
Yeah. And then I was just saying, I was just kind of repeating what you were saying. Really, when we make reports and someone's been verbally abusive, we write that, but we actually need to write, as you said, FUCK, CUN. We have to write it rather than saying verbal abuse, because when we report it back to probation service, this could be an indication in the escalation of the resident's behaviour, which sometimes can lead to recall back to prison. So we have to get the reporting right, the actual wording, not just he was upsetting or raised his voice or something. We have to be really clear about what it says, and then sometimes we have to do police reports as well to just ensure that we're bedding in that change in behaviour. And sometimes we say, oh, I don't want to write that, or oh, I don't need to tell the police I'm fine. But sometimes it's bigger picture stuff, because we need to make sure that we've got records clear about the behaviour presentation from that resident. So sometimes this all feels a bit odd or over the top, but it's really what we need to help the MOJ with what information they need. So it does feel a bit weird, but any worries, you can ask any of us in MOJ. We're used to writing those things now. It feels naughty at first.
Yeah, thanks for that, Claire. Yeah, that's really useful, really, because it could be an MOJ person ringing in, but not dealing with an MOJ expert like yourselves that are dealing with this and are used to dealing with that kind of behaviour, whether it's right or wrong. But it could be somebody on the phone with a repair who isn't used to that kind of language. And quite right, as you said, Claire, somebody may use those words, FUCK, as just normal talk. But it could still upset somebody that's not used to it. So it's still worth flagging with you guys. And I, really take on board what Claire's saying. If you need support from them to get the report right, because this could impact on them going to visit that resident. So if they don't know about it, they may need to know that there could be a few flags in there that they need to know. So that's really, good point, Claire. Anybody else got any questions? I'm trying to find the chat. Oh, I have found it.
That's why equally as well, whoever takes the call, whatever service it belongs to, so if it's AOP or MOJ, that team, they've got their own internal processes that they have to follow. And the whole point of this is to underpin that, not to compromise it in any shape or form or anything like that. And equally, they're used to dealing with a certain cohort. So the sooner that call can be escalated to that team, the better, because they will manage it in accordance to their own policies. So things like that make a difference.
Bernadette's just put a comment in. As housing officers, we have always been informed to retract ourselves when the resident gets heightened up and complete an SIR. I think it's safety for us as well as not escalating the situation. Yeah, if you can de-escalate and you can move yourself away, that's absolutely the right thing. To try not to exacerbate the situation or put yourselves in danger at any point if you can. Again, it's really easy for me to sit here. I don't get phone calls and I don't have to go out and deal with tenants. So yeah, in theory it sounds all good, but if you can diffuse. But again, for me, if you take nothing else away from here, is that you are important in your safety, and you should be able to go to your manager or escalate, and they will listen and try and support you as much as they can. I think there's a few of us in the room, we don't get lots of phone calls, so we don't experience this. So it's quite good to hear what other colleagues go through, because there may be days again where we go to one of your team, Michael, and ask them something, and they've just taken a really horrible phone call, and they may be short with us, and you might think, oh, I only asked. But maybe we all should be mindful, if we're not dealing with residents directly and we're not dealing with these phone calls, what our colleagues are putting up with. I mean, I went out with Claire 2 weeks ago, didn't I, Claire? To a no-loan worker visit. I must be honest, I was in the car and she said to me, if anything happens, she said to me, just run and phone the police. And I thought, oh my goodness. I mean, in my head, I said, don't be silly. But actually, I was really quite nervous. And when Claire then said, oh, his sister is coming with him, I was like, oh, okay. Because I'm not used to going out and dealing with tenants in that way. So, I think appreciation of what they do go through is, and you taking phone calls constantly for the organisation. I sit there all day oblivious to it all. So I think it's really useful that, we do understand that people have got some really challenging things to, I just get annoyed when you come over with your spreadsheets and oh, here he comes. What's he want now? But it can be traumatic. So again, if you can be a year to somebody, or you can just take some support, and I say you don't have to wait for your manager or your line manager or your director to be sitting there. Go to anyone and say, look, I just need. Never be afraid to say, look, I just need some support. That is not showing a weakness. That's not showing you can't do your job. It's just showing actually this is either something different that needs support, or actually I've had so many of these phone calls today, I just don't want to take another one. It's it's a lot. So please ask for any help. Amy's come back. You mentioned the person taking a call and how this can affect them. Should the same protocol be taken if these calls come from internal staff too? I know it's not the higher extreme end, but the person taking the call is still feeling the effects of it after the call. Well, Amy, absolutely brilliant point, but
really good point.
Goodness me, I'm surprised you said that. And again, that's me being really naive. I didn't know that you had to have people from the or inside the organisation would treat you that way. So absolutely. In fact, I think for me that's even worse. If you can't support your colleagues and help them, then there's a lot that's really bad. And I would say to you, if you get that, record it exactly in the same way, escalate to Michael, and Michael can talk to whoever he needs to, because absolutely everybody in this organisation, I'm a director in the organisation. I'm not a director because I'm better than anyone else or I've done anything different. It's probably because I'm 60 and I'm going at the end of my career, but I'm no more important or as the cleaners or any, we're all equal in this organisation around having the support, and everyone should be treated with respect, no matter who you are. Again, I'm going to go back to Claire here because she's a font of all knowledge. She was saying that in this time of the year with the hot weather, we get a lot of ASB calls where people have put boom boxes out and then they've called all their friends around, and then there's a lot of antisocial behaviour. So we get a lot of phone calls from neighbours, quite rightly putting little Johnny to bed, and somebody's outside, music bouncing, they're going to be frustrated. But again, it's trying to say to them, look, I do understand, but while you're screaming and shouting at me, I can't actually take any information. I can't do anything. So, maybe if you just calm down, I can see what I can do to help. And if I can't, I'll find somebody who can. But if they continue to scream and shout at you, then, you were in the right to say, look, I can't deal with you shouting at me. So I'm going to put the phone down and I'll maybe ring you back in 5 minutes, or if you want to ring us back and then I'll try and help you.
think the issue is we can't do anything to help them. So it's just like an ongoing battle of like, okay, we'll report it. 2 weeks later, it's still the same. Yeah, okay, we'll report it. And nothing ever happens. So I do understand their frustration, but obviously just build.
Yes. It's the same when you ring, you know, trying to, I don't know, get a parcel delivered or something, isn't it? And you just want somebody to help you, and the poor person on the end of the phone is the one that's getting the grief.
Yeah.
But you're the ones at the end of the phone who work for THN, so we don't want you to get the grief. And it is just trying to de-escalate if you can. If you can't, go to your manager and get some support. And again, raise it with us and say you can come and talk to any of us if you need to. If you know, I'll come and take the phone call and try and, not that I'm any better than anyone with a phone call. I'll probably be the one at the end and start shouting back. No, but I'm not going to be any better than anyone else. But sometimes just having somebody else listening and say, and they think, you know, I've escalated this to my manager. People sometimes think, oh, you know, they're taking me seriously now because they're getting the manager involved. So sometimes that just de-escalates things.
Okay, do you have the ability on the phone? If I was on the phone, Betsy, could you get them to my call and listen to my call? No.
No.
So you don't have that.
Yeah.
It's on loudspeaker.
Oh.
It's about
the whole office can hear it then and put the two penneth in.
It's about minimising the impact on individuals as well, because the more people that are involved, then this one big problem or situation suddenly becomes fragmented because it's going through individuals. So the impact on each individual is lower, and where you're escalating it, certain individuals will have the authority to make certain decisions or be more comfortable to make key decisions without worrying, am I going to get into trouble if I do this? And that is the whole point of escalation, to alleviate any call handler who in that moment, because that's what the rapid response tool is, very much an in the moment guideline to what to do, because you are already maybe feeling uncomfortable and your reassurance is this, to then push it upstream and let someone else deal with it. And that's it now. You can then get that respite from that situation, and someone else will take over in a comfortable and confident manner and make the key decisions that need to be made